I had a lot of issues. We weren't using an estimating software specifically designed for the apparel industry. We were using an invoice software that was predominantly used for the construction industry.
Okay.
So we actually had to adapt every single estimate and invoice, and it took hours out of our week to actually write up a simple estimate. When a client would accept the estimate, we had a hard time taking payments. We didn't know how we were going to take payments. We did have Square, so then we had to turn around and use Square to create a second invoice to send them so that they can actually make a deposit. Then it was hard to tie in that Square invoice with the invoice we created with this other software. When I looked into estimating software for the apparel industry, I found there were several different ones. I didn't go with the most cost effective, but I didn't go with the most expensive either. I went with the one that I thought was going to fit our budget and the size of the company. When I found Teesom, I found a website called Teesom versus Printavo.
Okay.
Right? Ended up being at the very top of the Google list. And I had seen Printavo at I think it was the Impression Show in Long Beach. And they would not stop calling me, and that was a total turnoff. I felt like I was trying to be like sold a used car. And so I decided to go with Printavo's competition. And it was that simple as it was. I logged on to Teesom for the very first time. I started to realize that it did things that I was already doing, but it took me 9 steps to get there. With Teesom, it was 1 step. Like, for instance, the Square integration. We've had a Square account for a very long time. When I realized I can take deposits straight from Teesom, and that took out that extra step. So that was some of the major issues, was the time it took to actually get an invoice out. Now I spend my first 30 minutes every morning getting my estimates done. I can get 7, 8, 9, 10 estimates done in my first 30 minutes of the day.
That's great. That's awesome.
Started working in Teesom, the first thing I thought was this was the answer to our expansion. This was the answer to our growth. And the reason why is because I tried to train people in the way I did it previous to Teesom, and it was impossible. Nobody could understand how I was getting those numbers. Nobody could understand. It was all in my head. When I got Teesom, I took everything out of my head and put it into a price list.
Yes.
Put it into a catalog. I took everything out of my head and put it down. And we're training a girl this week on how to use Teesom, and she did her first invoice in 15 minutes, or her first estimate in 15 minutes. That wouldn't have happened a year ago. Absolutely not. That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know, as an owner, we try to take off as many hats as possible. And I wear a lot of hats, and it's time for me to relinquish several of those hats, especially in the estimating and invoicing departments. And Teesom made that possible. Oh, I don't know if you ever met Brenda, but responsive. And I'm going to tell you that she'll respond to you on Sunday, response Saturday or Sunday. So, and that might be due to COVID, being quarantined, being locked down. It doesn't matter. Whenever I come across an issue, I get a response within an hour. There's a help desk kind of plugin or app, a little chat button in the actual software itself. And usually I get one of 2 gentlemen that help me out. Lincoln, I think, is one of their names, and I forget the other gentleman's name, or maybe it's a woman. But my answer my question gets answered in real time, almost immediately. And I'm on the West Coast. I'm in California. I don't know where anybody lives or where they work out of. I believe it's on the East Coast. And it could be 5 o'clock here on the West Coast, which means it's 8 o'clock over there, and I still get a response, which is something that I'm not used to. I'm not used to that. So when I actually got that kind of service, it was refreshing, just like, I guess, to say the least, because my business moves at real time.
Yeah.
And so I love the fact that my estimating software moves with my business. You know, I got a client waiting on an answer. I don't know how to do it. I can't have them waiting 3, 4, 5 hours. They're going to move on to the next person in the Yelp category. And the sooner I get that answer, the sooner I make the sale. Teesom, in a nutshell, has helped me increase sales. Yeah, one of the big things about Teesom was my catalog integration. So when I was doing estimating the old way, I'd have my 3 screens up. Or I'd have my TSC screen up, I have my SNS screen up, and I have my SanMarsh screen up, and then I'd have my quote unquote estimating software screen. And I would have to go into all 3 websites and type in, for instance, Next Level 1800, and get prices on all 3 and find which one was on sale and find who had the largest inventory and find out which warehouse it was going to get shipped from. And I had to do that 3 times before I can input anything into our estimating software. One of the things I love about Teesom is I don't even have to open up any of my vendors' websites anymore. I go right into the catalog integration. I type in 1800. It tells me who has it, where it's coming from, if they have it in stock, how much it is. Once in a while, I'll compare it and I'll say it can't be that cheap. And I'll go on to the website itself, SNS website, and I'll look and be like, yeah, it's right. They were on sale this week. You know, so the prices move up and down with my catalog. One of the things I like to add is whenever I have an idea or I wish it can do something, like, how come Teesom doesn't do this? I send in my requests, and sometimes it gets put on a board or a to-do list of stuff that may come out in the future, which is something that, like, I've never experienced before. And I know some of the more really expensive estimating softwares like Printable do that sort of stuff and cater to some of their bigger clients to make it more catered to their niche. But with Teesom, it makes me feel like they make me feel like I'm one of their bigger clients,
nice.